All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving headfirst into the world of crypto. But this isn't just your typical, Bitcoin 101 kind of thing.
Yeah, no, we're going deep, deep down the rabbit hole today. We're talking about Bitcoin and XRP, and not just like what they are, but, like the whole philosophy behind them.
Exactly. Like, what do these cryptocurrencies actually represent to the people who really, believe in them?
Think of it this way. It's like we're watching a debate, right? You got two passionate advocates, Da Vinci in the Bitcoin corner, and Matt repping XRP.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
And our source material, a fiery YouTube video where these guys go head to head. We'll break it all down, the arguments, the strengths, the weaknesses.
By the end of this deep dive, you'll understand not just the tech, but the visions driving these crypto giants. So I guess the logical place to start is right, origins and goals.
You'd think two rival cryptocurrencies would have totally different origin stories, right? But both Bitcoin and XRP, they were kind of born from the same desire, this need for a better financial system.
Interesting.
Da Vinci, the Bitcoin guy, he argues that Bitcoin was created to break free, break free from the control of banks, governments, that kind of thing. He sees it as the ultimate store of value, digital gold that can't be manipulated.
Okay, so that's Bitcoin. What about Matt, the XRP guy? Where's he coming from?
So Matt, he actually agrees with Da Vinci, about wanting a more independent financial system. But his twist, he believes XRP is like the evolution. Says it was created by, get this, Bitcoin developers.
Whoa, hold on. So the guys who created Bitcoin helped create its biggest competitor.
That's what Matt says.
Yeah.
And they did it, he claims, because they saw Bitcoin's limitations.
Like what kind of limitations?
Scalability is a big one. For Bitcoin to work as a global currency, right? It needs to handle a ton of transactions, a massive volume. Matt argues Bitcoin just can't do that, at least not yet.
Makes sense. If it takes forever to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, that's not going to work.
Exactly. And then there's the energy consumption issue, but we'll get into that later. Plus, Bitcoin lacks certain features, Matt says. Things like decentralized exchanges,
Gotcha. So both Bitcoin and XRP, they're kind of aiming for the same thing, financial freedom. They just have different ideas about how to get there.
It's like they're both trying to solve the same puzzle, but with totally different strategies.
Or like two siblings who inherit a business, same goal, but totally different plans for running the place.
And this raises a big question for our listeners. What does freedom in finance actually mean? Is it about being totally decentralized, even if it's not practical, or about building a system everyone can use? Keep that in mind as we move on to the next big battleground, decentralization and control.
Ooh, this is where things get juicy.
Right. Da Vinci is like Bitcoin, king of decentralization, all thanks to its proof-of-work system.
Now, for those who aren't, crypto whizzes, could you break down proof of work for us?
Sure. So proof of work basically means you need a ton of computing power to secure the network, like a giant puzzle, and everyone's working on it at the same time.
I'm with you so far.
The more people working on the puzzle, the harder it is for one person to, mess with it. That's proof of work in a nutshell. But Matt's not buying it. He throws Da Vinci this curveball scenario.
Oh, I love curveballs.
Right. He says, imagine someone with a gun to the head of the developers who control a cryptocurrency. Couldn't they be forced to change the rules?
That's a pretty intense scenario.
It is. But Da Vinci's quick on his feet. He argues Bitcoin's network is so big, so spread out, that kind of thing would be impossible.
Okay, so Bitcoin's too big to be bullied. Got it.
But then Matt drops this bombshell. He's like, hold on. All blockchains, even Bitcoin, they rely on what's called social consensus.
Social consensus. What's that now?
It means for any change to happen, most of the community has got to agree to it. And Matt argues, XRP, with its wider network of validators, it actually requires more consensus than Bitcoin to change anything, like 80%.
So harder to bully, even with a gun to their head. Interesting.
Oh, but he doesn't stop there. Matt flips it, says Bitcoin miners, they're driven by profit, right?
Fair. Got to keep the lights on.
Exactly. And Matt argues that could make them a centralized point of control. Think about it, the people securing the network, maybe they're not so idealistic after all.
So the very thing that makes Bitcoin secure could also be its Achilles heel. That's a good point.
It is. And it leads to a question for the listeners. Are Bitcoin miners motivated by freedom and decentralization or just cold, hard cash? Something to think about.
Okay, so we've talked origins, we've talked control, but there's this one event that really, I guess, threw fuel on the fire of this debate. The infamous Ethereum rollback.
Ah, yes. Remember that. When they altered the Ethereum blockchain to reverse that big hack, Da Vinci, he uses that as proof that systems without proof of work, they're just too vulnerable.
I mean, it makes sense. Someone messed with the system, right?
Right. But Matt, he comes back swinging. First, he's like, hey, the Ethereum community, they agreed to that rollback. They didn't want people losing their money. It was social consensus in action.
So it wasn't some outside force, more like a group decision to fix things.
Exactly. And then he drops the mic.
Oh, I love when that happens. What did he say?
He reminds Da Vinci that Bitcoin itself has been rolled back before to fix bugs. Remember that value overflow incident? They had to fix it, and that meant a rollback.
Wow, so even Bitcoin, this supposedly unchangeable system, it's had to adapt.
It has, and that's a takeaway for everyone listening. Even these, supposedly immutable blockchains, they can be influenced by the community. It's not just about the code, but about the people behind it.
A delicate balance, for sure.
It really is. And speaking of adapting, things get even hotter when we talk about scalability. Can a network actually handle a ton of transactions? That kind of thing.
Yeah, scalability is huge. I mean, if it takes an hour to buy a coffee with Bitcoin, that's not going to work.
Exactly. And that's kind of Matt's point. He sees Bitcoin's limited transaction capacity as a major roadblock, thinks it'll price out everyday users.
Okay, so Bitcoin's got this bottleneck. What's the solution?
Well, Da Vinci's surprisingly optimistic. He's all about that secure base layer, right? Says you can build solutions on top, like the Lightning Network.
The Lightning Network, that rings a bell.
It's kind of like a faster lane built on top of the main Bitcoin highway, near instant transactions, super low fees.
It sounds promising.
It does, but Matt's not totally sold. He argues relying on these extra layers.
Yeah.
It doesn't fix the core problem, like trying to fix traffic by just adding more lanes, Eventually, you're still going to hit a wall.
Makes sense. You can only add so many lanes.
Right. And this is where maybe grab a pen and paper, folks, because we're going a little deep here.
Yeah.
Da Vinci brings up this analogy to the internet. Says the internet's foundation, the TCP/IP protocol, that's evolved a ton over time, but the core, that stayed stable. He thinks Bitcoin can do the same.
So Bitcoin is the bedrock, and you build all this cool stuff on top.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
But Matt, oh man, he's clever. He flips the analogy on its head.
Oh, how's he do that?
He says, look, improvements to Bitcoin's foundation, those are basically replacing Bitcoin itself. It's like saying you can upgrade your car engine so much it becomes a spaceship. Is it even the same car anymore?
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. At what point does it become something totally different?
Right. It's a big philosophical question, something to think about as you weigh these arguments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of big questions, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Energy consumption.
Yeah, this is a major one. Matt, he's got serious concerns about proof of work, about all that computing power, all that energy, A lot of it comes from fossil fuels, and Matt argues this sets up a race to the bottom, who can get the cheapest energy.
Not great for the environment, obviously.
Right, and potentially harmful to communities, too. It's a huge debate in the crypto world. But Da Vinci, oh man, he throws out this wild prediction.
Lay it on me.
He thinks abundant, cheap energy. It's inevitable in a Bitcoin-powered future. Says it's not about using more energy, but about energy itself becoming less scarce.
Hold up, is he saying Bitcoin's going to solve the energy crisis?
Kind of. His argument is Bitcoin encourages innovation in renewable energy tech. As Bitcoin's value goes up, there's more incentive to find cheaper, cleaner ways to mine it. He even ties it back to the problems with our current financial system, says it's designed to keep us hooked on centralized energy sources.
Whoa, that's a lot to unpack.
It is. But let's shift gears for a minute. Let's talk about banks.
Ooh, this should be good.
Right. So Da Vinci, he basically accuses XRP of siding with the enemy.
The enemy? Wait, banks are the enemy.
According to Da Vinci, yeah. He's like, Bitcoin is made to disrupt banks, and XRP is getting cozy with them. Says that focus on bank adoption, it'll lead to compromises.
So XRP's the wolf in sheep's clothing.
That's Da Vinci's take. But Matt pushes back hard. Says XRP is actually designed to allow transactions without banks. Even points out that Ripple, the company behind XRP, they've had proposals rejected by the XRP community.
So the community has a say, even over the company.
That's what Matt says. He insists XRP is a tool for freedom. Anyone can use it, even banks. But it won't change its core principles.
So it's like a knife, right?
Yeah.
A chef can use it. A bad guy can use it. It's all about how it's used.
Exactly. And it goes back to that question, what does financial freedom actually mean? If we stop banks from using crypto, does that limit its potential?
Good point. Okay, let's get specific for a second.
Yeah.
There was this debate about XRP and account fees, right?
Yeah. Da Vinci was like, why does XRP have a fee to open an account? Other cryptos don't. He saw it as a barrier for new users.
I get that. It's not a great first impression.
Right. But Matt jumps in with an explanation. He's like, look, XRP is different. It uses an account-based system. That means it keeps track of your entire transaction history.
Okay, and that takes up space, right? Like digital space.
Exactly. That's why there's a small deposit to open an account. But he stresses it's refundable when you close the account. So it's not really a fee, more like a security deposit.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense. It's like renting an apartment, you get your deposit back if you leave the place tidy.
Perfect analogy. And it highlights that this debate, it's not just about ideas, it's about the tech too, how these blockchains are actually built.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts. And those details, they matter, especially if we want regular people to use this stuff.
100%. You got to make it easy to understand, easy to use.
So we've really gone deep on this one. Bitcoin versus XRP, the philosophies, the tech. I feel like I need a whiteboard just to keep it all straight.
Right. It's a lot to take in. But hey, that's what deep dives are for, right? Getting past the headlines, really understanding what's at stake.
Exactly. And at the heart of it, we've got these two visions, right? Da Vinci with his, I guess you could call it an unshakable belief in Bitcoin. This idea of a financial reset, breaking free from the system.
Yeah, and then you've got Matt, who's more focused on, well, practicality, I guess. Using crypto to improve the system we have, not necessarily tear it all down.
And that's the question for our listeners, right? Which vision resonates more with you? Do you see crypto as this like radical revolution or a tool for evolution?
And there's no right answer, you know? It's about what you believe in, what kind of future you want to see.
And I think that's what's been so cool about this deep dive, right? We're not telling anyone what to think. We're just laying it all out there, the arguments, the pros and cons.
Giving you the information you need to make up your own mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Because ultimately, it's our choices, right, as individuals, as a community, that's going to shape the future of crypto.
Whether you're a hardcore trader or just starting to dip your toes in, your decisions matter.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all this?
I guess stay curious. Keep learning. This world, it's changing so fast, you know? Don't be afraid to ask questions to challenge the status quo.
And hey, maybe one day you'll be the ones leading the debate, shaping the future of finance. Who knows?
Future's unwritten, right? It's all about what we make it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, folks, happy exploring.